Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today I titled this message, Not Everyone Will Be Helped. Not everyone will be helped. Some of you all have your spiritual callings. Some of you others don't have a clue what spiritual callings are and could care less. Anything that involves, dare we say it, helping another person. Some will stay far, far away from that. Some will mock helping others. Some have a script as to how you are supposed to help people. And when some interesting things happen, when a sudden, unexpected situation occurs, those that are scripted, those that are programmed, those that are mind controlled don't know how to handle the surprise. They don't know how to talk outside of the script. Their brain is programmed that this is how we answer a call. This is how we talk to someone. This is what we do in a situation like this. This is the information that is out there concerning how we do this or we do that. But can I tell you that the God that we serve, just when you think you got a label for why people think the way they think, just when you think you understand what a calling is, just when you think you know something about why this one thinks this way and that one thinks this way, and we get together and now we can formulate the pieces of the puzzle, God does a 180 on you, a 360. Now man, woman scrambles, looks inside his or her textbooks. Maybe this right here is this label. And maybe what exactly is happening is this. And maybe it's never what we think it is. It's just us grasping for straws, trying to figure some things out, trying to put a comfortable label on something that we don't understand. Not everyone is meant to be helped. I'm going to relieve some people of their duties. I'm going to relieve some people of the manufactured spiritual callings. I'm going to relieve some people of what the script says, what television programming lately has put out there. If you're so busy over here helping this one and helping that one, you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're not studying. You're not looking for information related to you and your family. You're too busy out here helping this one and that one, and and the information that you really are supposed to know, well, if you're distracted enough, you're not going to pay attention to the serious information that seriously helps not just one or two people, but masses. Those that are in the know about some very interesting things that can once again derail agendas, blow up programming, or what have you. They want those types of individuals to focus in on the day-to-day with family members, friends, co-workers, strangers on the street. Go back to the days of, winning this soul to Christ, and go back to the days of laying hands and healing this one and that one, and stay out of information or away from any type of signs, symbols, or wonders that God Himself gives you. And to stay out of groups where there is a unifying of minds and where people are putting pieces of the puzzle together. They don't want you to do what you've done that achieved some serious blueprints as to what higher ups are up to. Let me make this plain for some of you all. Let's say that you work for an organization and you start to learn what process is, how the company works. you start to find out that the individuals that you're working with, or even the ones that are above you per se, that's been around the company for quite some time, you start to learn what their weaknesses are. You start to point out these frailties. You start to tell individuals that you could make this company a lot better if, and you could streamline this process, and you could, utilize some cost savings measures in order to get certain things done while other things need to just stop. Redirect money into building a better user interface as opposed to using money to hire more hands. But meanwhile, you're still going to have a problem in the organization or problems. And more hands isn't what some organizations need. What they need is to fix things so that there's not the revolving door. And I keep seeing that happening. And so let's just say that you have this understanding, and maybe there's 4 or 5 others that you are connected to. They all have this understanding. And then we throw in some spiritually minded individuals in the mix who can be able to prophetically see some things. It might be a little woo-woo for some people. Some folks might not believe in all of that or whatever, but it's interesting how they always come out on top. They always end up being right about something. They always got something going on that helps. And then there are those that they have their share of problems, but they figure out solutions, and they're in the mix too. Okay? But let's just say that the organization doesn't want certain cost savings measures, and they don't want user interfaces dealt with, and they don't want any number of things. Because by design, they have their reasons for why they won't get certain things done and why they don't mind getting other things done. But you start to put some pressure on some individuals. You start talking to them a bit more about, we really need to come together, and we really need to speak to managers, supervisors, leaders, whoever we can, to really change some things around here. Those that don't want you saying or doing certain things are going to come up with ways to push you out. Put enough pressure on you that some things will occur that either you walk out the door, they push you out the door, they find so many faults with you that they let you go, whatever, because this one or this group is a threat. Can I tell you that there's a season where you can be a help to an organization and a help to other individuals? But then there are those times where God will say, you're not going to be a help to the organization. You're going to fly under the radar. You're going to stand down. You're going to be the type of individual that you don't need to do everything for everyone. You don't have to fulfill the spiritual calling of yesteryear any longer. I've got a new spiritual calling with a new group of individuals in a new location. And the information is not going to be whatever information that they put before you or what they want you to chase after, but it's bigger and it's better and it's greater. And don't fall for the programming. And no, you can't always stay on script. And some of you all, you know this because you've worked in organizations and you realize, you know what, this isn't working, that's not working, and neither is this. And so therefore, this is why I have to pivot. This is why I got to do some things differently. And I'm not going to keep explaining myself, defending myself, arguing with people or whatever else. They can keep their little personal opinions and their observation to themselves. Sometimes you got to test some things to see if some things work for you. And it's not about other people. It's not about helping other people. It's, I'm in survival mode at this moment. You see. But this is the part of God that some folks don't talk about. And they don't talk about it because it's not in their best interest to talk about the God who says this is not the season for you to be a helper. Some people are so distracted with their helping people that they're not even helping themselves. Some people are so distracted with trying to help the organization that they can't even focus in on the things that work for them on a day-to-day. Some people are so distracted with just the statement of helping people, and they're not helping anyone. Truth be told, they're not helping anyone. And then there are those individuals that you know that your spiritual calling needs to be updated. Your spiritual calling isn't what it used to be. For some of you others, you're on a different calling. And other individuals know nothing about that. They know nothing about it. They haven't been told, updated in years. So they still think that you're the same person doing the same things. And God, He sets it up that way. He sets it up that way because your enemy, or somebody who you don't know is your enemy, or somebody in the future that will be your enemy, doesn't need to know everything. There is, once again, a limited amount of information that you share with individuals. If there's anything that you take away from any of this programming that they have out here, take away this: that you don't need to tell them anything and everything. And who are they? They could be the organization. They could be the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the husband, the wife. It's interesting how we have individuals that will say, I need to know everything. There are some individuals in our family members, please, if anything happens, I need to know. And I will tell you that if you haven't prayed about certain information, they don't need to know everything. Even if they find out later and they're upset that you didn't tell me and I should have been the first one to know. And I need you going forward to do. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But I thought we have a relationship. There are some things, trust me, you don't need to know. See, the push for family members to be closer together, the push for family members to tell everything about everything. All of these things are eventually to set you up to do what? To start telling other people about what's going on. Because if you feel comfortable with this group, then you're going to feel comfortable with the next group, and so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, you got family members and friends, which I'm seeing this now when it comes to certain medical procedures and so forth that they do. This one is telling on this one, and this one is telling on that one, and everybody is having their opinions about what everybody else should do. And then before long, there's some confusion and some division, bingo, and then the enemy moves to the next camp. Creates some confusion and then moves on to the next camp. A lot of times the confusion is as a result of individuals saying too much, having too much opinion on things. As we are continuing to learn about people and how God uses people and how God is about divine callings and so forth, we're also seeing that the enemy is using media to mock what God is doing, to tailor things in such a way to raise up the cynic and the skeptic, to once again divide people, to cause individuals to work together for whatever they want They being whoever. It could be elitist, it could be globalist, it could be the person who has a vested interest in whatever it is that you got going on. We want you to follow along with this particular topic, this particular program. They put the subject matter right in front of you. And now, before long, you think that you're talking about something that just popped up in your head, but it was already put there by an algorithm, by a show. And I'm seeing the patterns. I'm seeing where there is an attack on people's minds in a way where you're not thinking independently. They want you to group think. They want you to talk like the group. Even though the message that you're given is something that sounds like independence and freedom and righteousness and helping people and truth and spiritual callings, and we're in support of religion and faith, and when really that's just all surface talk. It's charming. It lures you in. But worldly minds and people who aren't into the things of God, the people of God, those that think they know some things, will snatch what little bit that they do know of, and they'll use it to promote whatever type of thinking they want you to have, whatever type of reasoning, whatever type of idea in terms of a new and improved you they believe that they can create. But history has shown that when man meddles around, especially crossing over into the spiritual realm, when man is trying to match up the worldly with the spiritual, the unspiritual with the spiritual, it always ends up being some type of disaster. Because he is not believing in the one true God and what the one true God does. And he is not at the one true God's feet. And so his system, his process, his plan, his trying to get people to think in the way that he or she wants to think, he's reasoned that it's the best way, it's the right way, and it ends up being a disaster. Trying to get people to have a collective conscience. Trying to get people to think in a telepathic sort of way. Trying to get people to utilize their visions on one accord to help him, to give him more money, to give him more opportunity. Can I tell you that over the years, there were individuals that when I struck gold, so to speak, in the prophetic, and I helped a lot of people, there were those individuals that started saying things like, well, is it possible if you can start giving me some numbers for the lottery? I would love to win. And one time when I was very young, I did do something like that. And one of the relatives ended up winning some money. It wasn't much, but it was from that point on that she said, oh, this one right here just might be able to keep me with a fat bank account. And so there were years of, do you think you can give me a number? Give me a 3-digit, give me a 4-digit, you see. And once I started walking with the one true God, because I would say all before, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that, because I wasn't even thinking about God or spiritual things or tapping into, the spiritual realm in order to, get some numbers to play, to win. when I started walking with the one true God, the request came back around again. Do you think you can help me with? Do you think you can? And I said, God did not move on my spirit. He didn't move on my spirit to give you those numbers. There were times, though, in my life where some would call it psychic abilities or what have you, where, I said, I'm in a dire situation. I'm going to need some money. Let me see what happens. And some folks will say coincidence, oh, you were lucky that day or what have you. During the times when that sort of thing happened was when I was pregnant, where I was able to win. I would put my name in a drawing and win some gifts. I would receive a scratch off and I'd win on a scratch off. But these were during some times in my life where there was, once again, some psychic things going on during pregnancy. And when you do the research, you find out that there are those that have that uncanny ability. But then, like with everything else, you get distracted with life. There's a lot of things that take place. You put foreign chemicals in your body, and then some of the things that you were called, let me say that again, called to do, they get suppressed. You think that certain things that you were given, things that were put out here in the atmosphere, you think that they weren't put out here to keep you from knowing some things, to keep you from going down a rabbit hole, to keep you from researching, to keep you from winning? There are some things that man and woman cannot explain. That is why they go on attack. I knew that there was going to be some things ahead. That's why I gave specific instruction to one of my relatives concerning a move. And then it's interesting because when that person doesn't listen, and some of you all, you know how this goes. When a person doesn't listen to you and you give them specific instructions, and let's just say that, dare we say it, the stars align, right? God himself, is seated at the throne and you're listening to him and you're following everything that you're supposed to concerning him and you're sharing that information. When everything isn't aligned right in the way that that person expects, now they want to come after the prophet or the prophetess. They want to argue. They want to fuss. They want to fight about it. They want to say, well, you was wrong because of this, that, and the other. You didn't follow instructions. When there's an enemy that's out there that's attacking your mind, that's creating all sorts of distraction, when you yourself are going down various rabbit holes and you don't have a covering, and then when bad things happen, now you want to get upset with the teachers. Now you want to say that these people are wrong and they don't know what they're talking about. As we're moving along in this journey of life, I need some folks to be the type of individuals that not just listen to God's messengers, but you also strive to have a direct line to God himself. And that when he calls you to fast, and some of you all, you're supposed to be fasting like yesterday. When he calls you to fast, that means that you're not putting anything in your body that man created. Okay? And you're being one with the one true God. You're giving up some things, possibly. Maybe there's certain things that you do have to take for health reasons or what have you. But when you're giving up some things that you really like, it's interesting what God can do when you're willing to take what is out of your hand. Drop it before the Lord and say, okay, I'm ready to follow you. Some people have done this with alcohol. Some people have done this with smoking. Some people have locked into the one true God by being around like-minded believers, which that explains why a lot of times believers are under attack, because when we get together, there are things that God will dispense. And some of these things, once again, reveal plans, reveal agendas. They know that there's a pattern with some individuals, that they are spiritual, that they are righteous individuals, and it's unexplainable no matter what labels that some put on it, no matter who studies what, no matter what degrees people have. There is always going to be the unexplainable. And if man would just accept it and leave it alone, we'd be better off. But man wants to mess around, and woman wants to mess around and play with and run tests and trials and use various experiments. And if I press this button and if I do this, what might happen? And then you end up having a Frankenstein instead of somebody that's going to uplift the community, somebody that's going to bridge the gap, somebody that's going to have a spiritual countenance where it's similar to Jesus. The enemy messes around. And some of you all over the years, you were messed around with. That's why you went through the abuse that you went through a long time ago, because someone or something in the spiritual realm knew what your potential was a long time ago. And they were doing everything to try to stop you from getting to a place where you are now. Helping people. But then there's a season where you don't help people. No, my message is not going to resonate with this one, because it's not meant to help these people. They're going through a trial, going through a season, what have you. And anything that I say, God has blocked it in such a way where no, they're not going to be helped by it. You see, I recognize this. There's a time where, okay, I'm helping my children to a certain extent, and now a bunch of things happen that are negative, that are challenging, that are stressful. That is usually the sign that it's time to stop helping them. Move out the way, because God is about to do something. Now it's going to get uncomfortable. I know you don't want your baby to suffer. I know that you don't want to have to go through the loneliness of being separated. I know that at times you don't appreciate, what God is doing, but hang on. He knows the future and he has his reasons. And so that season of, I'm sorry, I can't give you, is here for some of us. It's here. The enemy wants you to focus in on help the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, help the woman down the street, the man up the street. Enemy wants you to be so distracted that you don't hear from your creator. That's what all of that work is all about. And some individuals, you've worked and worked and worked so much to the point where the people that really need you, you are so spread thin that they're not able to get the help that you could give them. There's so much that's happening, once again, to try to keep us from being connected with the one true God. So much that is happening to keep us from speaking the kind of truths that derail agendas and systems and process that are ungodly, unrighteous, unhelpful. There are so many individuals that when they see your potential are threatened by it. There are so many individuals that want to be right so bad that any opportunity that they see where you mess up, where you show weakness, where you had an off day, ooh, we got her. You haven't gotten anything. The devil is a lie. And you keep on messing around and you end up losing big time. And some of us, we know that that's what happened with some people. They lost big time because they kept messing around with God's people. Just leave that woman alone. If that's what she is doing in this season, is not helping, just because it doesn't look like a Jesus type of mission to you, and aren't Christians supposed to be doing this, and aren't Christians supposed to be doing that? God could be having that woman sitting out. Because I've heard that over the years. Well, if you're a child of God, aren't you supposed to be doing this specific thing and that specific thing? And I'm like, God didn't call me. They didn't like that. Ooh, the devil rose up in some people's eyes. They didn't like that. Well, what kind of God are you serving that he would tell you that you're not supposed to help me or do this for me? And, and I've touched on these topics in the past. The family members who rise up because now you're saved, sanctified, Holy Spirit filled, and they think that they can benefit from you, take from you, that you're going to be something special to them. And instead, you're something special to the one true God, and you don't have time for them in the foolishness, and you're not falling for the programming and everything else that is associated with them. And they get upset about that sort of thing because aren't Christians supposed to act this way and that way? The soldier Christian doesn't act like anything at times that you think. I gotta say that. The church has manufactured a type of Christian, a type. But when God has believers on the front line, they blow your minds. Some of these individuals and what they look like and how they behave and how they talk. We got Christians that are very soft-spoken when they need to be soft-spoken. And then we got Christians that are very firm and are like soldiers. And you may not necessarily like how they speak to you. But if you're speaking to them and you're coming at them and you're combative, they are like a soldier. They will defend. They will defend themselves. They will defend territory. They will defend their brother or sister in Christ as God leads. We got Christians that are big and small. We got Christians that are tall. We got Christians that are short. We got Christians that come in all shapes and sizes. They come from all walks of life. Some are rich, some are poor, some are middle class. And whatever you grew up to know what a believer or what a believer with a spiritual calling looks like, God, like I said, will do a 180, a 360 on you. And just when you think you know, you don't know. I told some folks in old audio, I said, some of us are in stealth mode. Some of us are flying under the radar. We look just like you. Some of us, we talk street and then we can flip it and we can talk just as proper as anyone else. Some of us have visions, dreams, signs, wonders. But every vision, sign, dream, wonder isn't always about helping people, contrary to these little shows that are out here, contrary to what your people told you or what you observed. They said, well, if they're not helping people, what are they doing? You'd be surprised at what God has people doing. And I can't get into everything, because I know sometimes who drops by and who listens to messages. And no, I'm not giving you another idea for just another one of your little movies or your little things that you're not paying me for, please. Hallelujah. And praise be to the one true God. But you got more than enough in terms of understanding some things about believers, whether you are one or not. Understand this, that not every believer is going to be called, especially during a season of much turmoil, to help everyone when God's wrath is upon some individuals. So while some people are going to be just hoping, wishing, and praying that their beloved is going to be helped, there is a time and there's a season where no, your beloved is going to be passed over. Your beloved is going to go ahead and be put in the grave. Oh, I know somebody don't want to hear that. Your beloved is not going to get any special treatment or special favor just because now she's degreed or now he has a certificate. Some of you all are experiencing that now too. It's an evil world that we live in, but there's also an even playing field at times where the rich is treated just like the poor. Where the favored is now unfavored. Where the one that was once uplifted is now brought down low. You see. But aren't you supposed to help me? Aren't you supposed to do for me? Aren't you supposed to give me? I got some of the most spoiled, demanding individuals. The right now, and I need this now type of individuals. And some of you all, you know, if you worked in customer service, you know how that goes. And then every now and again, there is a lot of things that'll go wrong. And that person who calls up thinking that it's going to be smooth ends up, the process isn't smooth for them. They've got to go through challenges that they didn't even see coming. Had they prayed, had they been locked in, that wouldn't have been the time to call customer service. That wouldn't have been the time to be walking in the door. Sometimes God will allow technology to malfunction. I'm sorry, I can't seem to get your information up. I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. You see this line of people? But I bought this and I got this and you people this and you people that. And the script says, oh, but please, please remain calm, be respectful, be polite, be this, be that. We're living in a world where there are going to be those times where what you have known customer service to always be isn't. Some folks are already experiencing the automated and the robo. Some people are already experiencing the world of no more humans being polite and kind and respectful. You got a machine. Years and years of emotional abuse has taken its toll on many of those individuals who have served the public. They have taken out their frustration on their bodies. They've taken their frustration out on their families. Some individuals have even committed suicide behind dealing with so many of these evil individuals. And there is evil, much evil in the world. I have seen and I've heard some of the demonic in the voices of many individuals. Some folks who have been police officers said that they've seen the worst in humanity being out there on the beats. And some of the journalists have heard some of the most horrific things that human beings have done. And there comes a point where no, you don't know that person's story. You don't know the evil that they put out in the atmosphere. They're not going to be helped. I'm seeing some people in a symbolic vision where they are underwater with their hands held up. And they're crying out, help me, help me. And there's nobody in those dark waters that's going to help them. I see some people that are going to the top of their homes and they're saying, help me, help me. And planes are going right by them. Oh, this is the dark side of the message you don't want to hear. But we're going to say that since some folks, like I said, every now and again want to come through and find out about the prophetic. The prophetic, the truth, what is ahead is not what you want to hear. That's why some folks don't bother to tell you, because you want just to hear the positive all the time, right? Or give me something good. Give me something that's uplifting. This is why some people are like the ant right now, because they know that the information is dark, and that's why they're storing like the ants, and they're protecting their families like a police officer. They're not playing, because they know that something has happened in the minds and the bodies of people. And when I said in the old audio, I warned you all, I told you all, I tried to educate you on when people are operating out of pain, they don't think correctly. I even read articles to let you know. When people have been suffering for a long time and they don't know what's going on inside their bodies, things that they put in their bodies, they don't act correctly. They don't act right. They don't reason right. And this is beneficial to those who want to stay mentally strong. This is beneficial to those who want to keep their top spot. Because if you're weak and you're sickly and you're in pain and you're overweight and you're overworked, you can't be a soldier, especially a soldier for Christ, like you ought. So these things are ahead where the help isn't on the way. The help isn't on the way. That's why it's going to be every man for himself in some of these communities. That is why for some individuals, they're not going to be able to make it to the hospitals because they live too far out. Help isn't on the way. You better know something about nursing a person back to health. Some individuals, they know all too well. Help isn't on the way. Somebody said they're going to be there for you, they're going to do for you and all that, and then their plane is grounded somewhere, so they don't make it at home. Somebody else, oh, help is on the way, help is on the way. And that person who you trusted with all your information, and they're not helping you. They're using your information. One lady told me, she said a woman, she wanted to plant herself in her house as a roommate to take from her, while she said she was going to be helping her. We see that all the time with organizations. We're helping you. And some of you all, you see through it. You see through the scripts. Some of you all, you're very good. You know how to talk people off of the scripts and say, really, tell me what's really going on. And some folks actually reveal information to you because you were friendly. You see? So you get some information. You may not get it all, but hey, you got some help. But then once again, we got some individuals who the help isn't on the way. We got some individuals that they want help. They really do. But they don't act in ways that are helpful. You ask them a question and they're very quick to put you off. Then there's some individuals who help's not on the way because your approach is all wrong. You want somebody to help you, but then you think that you can just call up folks and act like a fool. You think that you can show up in front of people and say whatever you want to say. And you think that they love their job just that much that they're willing to put up with just about anything. We're not living in that time zone. And some folks got to experience that because you don't know whose day is their last day anyway. And that might be the day that you just met your match. And they're not sitting behind a script. They may know where you live. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know where you're going at times. You don't know who's there when you arrive. But somebody need Jesus like yesterday. I'm just saying. You better call on Jesus. A dark world. A dark world that at times is only getting darker. Help is not on the way for everyone. And not every believer is called to be a helper during times of need. There's a season for all things. Sometimes I'm too busy getting help for myself to be oh so helpful to other individuals. You see, there are times where some of you all, you have received help and you've received help and you've received more help, but you're not helping other people. And for some people, it's because they're really not called to help folks in the way that those think that believers should help, because they don't have the mental capacity to deal with it all. Come on. I talked to one of my relatives many years back. She said, my nerves are too bad, honey, to do what you do. I believe in God. I trust in God. I love God. But my mind cannot handle what you can handle. But I'll pray for you. But please don't expect me to do what you do. You see, not everybody's calling is the same. There is no one size fits all. There is no one understanding fits all. There is no one label that fits all. There is no point of knowledge on the great knowledge scale that fits all. Many are called, chosen are few. I thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube, Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We do welcome giving, and thank you.